I want to use this one.
I think this color is really nice.
Well, but this one is as well.
Well, let's use them both then. This can turn out great or as a whole mess. There's no in between. Back in October, I was really lucky when I went to the fabric shop and they had loads of remnants in the remnant box. This is one of them, have a look if you haven't watched it. And they had two of the same but in different colors, and when I was editing the whole video, I thought, well, maybe I could use them together and make something different. I think the colors don't really match and it could be sort of a disaster. But on the other hand, I think sewing is about that, making something different and unique. And they cost me only €3 each. It's like I'm always talking about money. But I think I can try and see how they look together. We are going to cut our materials of choice following the patterns. And once we have our 4 panels, we're going to start with the back. Then adding the 2 front panels, sewing them on the shoulders and the sides. Once we cut our sleeves, we're going to sew the side and gather the top so we can sew it to the dress right sides together and hem all around it. And the strips that are going to tie it up are only 2 rectangles of material that are sewn on the side of their collar. The materials are beautiful, they are synthetic, but they are quite thin and I think they're going to look great. They also had it in mint with aubergine color polka dots and it looks great as well. Because of the 2 different patterns and so many colors, I think I have to keep the design as simple as possible. Because if I add ruffles or many layers of stuff, it's going to look quite over the top or a sort of wedding outfit. So we're going to keep it simple. I could add buttons or anything like that, but I think it's too much. And I thought that it would look nice as a wrap dress. Any garment that needs wrapping or any embellishment goes on the left side. But because I have the 2 colors, I want to make it both ways. If one day you're in the mood for more lilac, you put the lilac on top, and if one day you're in the mood for more pink, you put the pink on top. And for that I have to change the wrapping method. Wrap dresses always have the wrapping strips on the right side, so then you can part it and wrap it around. But because I want to use it both ways, I need 1 strip of material on each side, so I'm going to wrap it through buttonholes. That's the theory. And as a sleeve, I'm going to use puffy ones. An interesting bit about this project is that I'm going to be transforming a pattern that I already have. I made a wrapped top, I don't know back when, but it's a floral one with a ruffle sleeve. So I'm going to use that pattern to trace the dress. I made this out of my blog. It was quite simple to do because from your blog you can trace it from the shoulder, trace a diagonal line to the opposite side of the waist. And of course you'll need 2 of these, 1 for each side. If you're going to combine different patterns for a dress, you can do it the way you like. You can make one side one color and match it with the opposite side or something like that. I'm going to do it all at once. I mean, one side of the dress is going to be one color, complete, and the other one will be the other. I'm not going to mix it. And I think for wrap dresses, you always make the top and then separately the bottom, or the skirt, and you sew it together. But because I have this and I want to make like a color block thing, I'm going to use this to trace another pattern so I don't lose this one. And I'm going to attach the skirt already, so I'll have 4 long panels from shoulder to below the knee. This pointy bit I'm going to keep straight and I'm going to add volume to the skirt on this side. So I'm going to make not a circle skirt, but sort of. And then the back is going to be half. So I'm going to make half one color and half the other. Be careful how you cut it, because this is going to be tricky. Even though this is the length of my dress, I'm going to still measure the length of my skirt so I can trace it all around the pattern. I have my 4 pieces, the 2 fronts and the 2 half backs, and I'm quite happy with it because it took me ages to cut it, just because I had to know which side was what, so I wouldn't mess the pattern, because I want the sides to be on the same color. So I had to maneuver the pattern and turn it and put it upside down and things like that, and it was giving me a headache, but I got it. It's okay now, and I'm quite happy with it. Because the inside is white, I'm going to be sewing in white, and then when I hem it, I will use some similar color to the material I'm using. And because I want the strips of material that I'm going to use to wrap it around to come outside the sides, I'm going to not sew 2 centimeters gap, so I can put my strip there, through there. Yes, does that make sense? And I'm going to mark my 4 panels with those 2 centimeters just above the curve of the skirt, where the skirt starts, just on top of that. So here I am, I'm pinning it so it doesn't move, and some people prefer basting it. I don't know, if it wasn't for me, if it were for someone, I would of course try my best to do it with so many steps as possible so I don't get it wrong. But because it has my measurements already, because I did it with my block and I already cut it, and I think it's okay to just pin it and sew, because it's just straight seams. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I'm going to sew until I reach the 2 centimeters mark I have, then I will stop sewing and go on from the other point down. While I was sewing it, I thought the shoulder area was too wide in the front, so I decided to gather it a little. So I just made a long stitch, and pulling from one of the 2 threads, you gather it. And you have to be careful so they both measure the same, both sides, and now I can sew it to the back. This means that I'm going to have to cut a bit of the back to open it a little more, because there's going to be like a step here, but it's not a problem. So here is Marie Antoinette, looking good. The gathering looks nice, and the back as well. It's really flowy. It weighs a lot when you move. And you can see here the little gaps I left, so the strips can go in and wrap it. I have 2 big pieces left, one from each color, so we have to do it right the first time. And I have my sleeve block. So if you don't have one of these, you can do it from a blouse that fits you well. And I'm going to leave it a bit longer so it comes down to the arm. With our basic sleeve block, we're going to trace a bell sleeve pattern by tracing around, leaving like 1 centimeter or even more. It depends on your taste. So that way we can gather the top a little and it's loose on the arm. And the bottom we're going to leave quite a long sleeve, so we can then put some elastic at the bottom as well. And what I'm going to be careful with is that even though it's a wider and longer sleeve, I'm going to mark the top bit so I know where to place my pin and where it goes when sewing. And like I did before, when you pull from one of the threads, you get your cutter. I was joking at first, but now that I see it together, I really like it. So I have nothing to lose really, so let's do it like this. And to put the sleeves in place, I always put the garment inside out, so I can put the sleeve inside and that way it's right sides together and I can pin around without any problem. I made a last minute decision to change the sleeves and place them opposite colors, and I could do that because the sleeve didn't have that shape. I mean, sleeves have a concrete shape and the front is different to the back. So when you sew it, it doesn't pull and all of this. But the sleeve I made, it's a bell sleeve and it comes down straight. That means that I don't have the sleeves wrong. I don't have the back to front. Well, I do, but it doesn't matter because it's the same. It has the same shape, front and back. So that's good. But you should really think about this before cutting your fabric and putting it together. So that's for next occasion. I'll be a bit more careful. This is how craziness is going in here right now. And what was a joke at first, it came out beautiful, I think. It's quite fun, it's a fun dress to wear, and now that I finish with all the white thread that goes inside, I can start to sew with the 2 colors, with a lilac and an orangey pinky neon one. And what I'm going to do is to hem the sleeve and leave a gap so I can put the elastic in, and then the rest will be a double hem, and I'm going to do it as neat and thin as possible so it looks nice. And the last step will be to do the strips that are going to tie it up. Here's Marie Antoinette. I'm really happy about the buttonholes I made, and it's just I can't really seem to focus the camera to get it closer enough, but you can see they're nice and neat, and it's just to make sure that that area don't suffer, because it's going to be always pulling from the strips to tie them, so it's the most difficult area. So I want it to be quite neat. And then now I'm going to add the elastic to the sleeves. The sleeves really look quite nice. They are straight, so it depends on what you like. If you like them like this, I think you can leave them as they are. And even if you made like a little pleat and do them like that, they'll be lovely. I'm going to add the elastic. I just have a thin elastic and I'm going to measure my arm where it lands, and I don't want it really tight, just to hold it. I'm going to leave this centimeter open because in case I want to change the style of the sleeve, I can do it easily. This is already perfectly sewn, the hem is already perfectly made, so I don't think there's any need to finish it more. So in case I want to change it, I have just to put my scissors in, snap the elastic band, and I can do something different. And now for the strips that are going to hold it together, I'm going to make 2 strips, one each color, and they have to be at least, the maximum is 2 centimeters wide, because I left a 2 centimeter buttonhole on each side. And then the thing is that this depends on your taste, because I'm going to just make it the length of my waist, because I don't want to go round and round my waist forever, but you can make it as long as you wish. I'm going to just wrap it once, so they have to go from one side to the other and have enough space to make a bow or just tie it. I'm going to do it simple, and this is just a rectangle of material that I'm going to sew on one side and, for example, on the top, and leave the other side open so we can turn it right sides out. I've pressed them, but they still look like 2 poisonous snakes. And what I'm going to do is the bit that is not sewn, to sew it on the on its collar. And this is the final result. I'm really pleased with it. Isn't it cute? This is what I had in mind all the time. This is what I wanted to do, but it turned out great. I'm really pleased. I'm quite happy. It's really flowy and nice, and I think the colors are great. I really like the pink on top, but the good thing about this is that you just unwrap it, and then, give me a second, you can easily change the appealing of your dress. So I think it's quite a good idea to have the buttonholes, and then you can change it, and if you fancy this pattern one day or the other, you have a choice. And I think it looks great. It's not quite a circle skirt, I don't know what I did. It's like if I did godets on one, but it looks really good. At first I even thought about taking off a little, but it looks really nice. It's quite flowy, it's really pretty. Of course, it's quite dressy, so you could wear it for a wedding or something like that with a nice pair of heels. But I think with trainers for every day, it looks amazing. I didn't have any problem with the material at all. I had problems laying the patterns to know which side I had to cut, and it took me a while. But once I figured it out, it was okay. I know the colors are a lot. It would be much nicer if they complemented each other a bit better, but I think it's quite fun. I think that's the fun about sewing, that you could do something different, something unique, and that's something that goes with your personality. So let me know then in the comments what you thought, anything you would like to say, just say it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything next week. Bye!